So the story begins with an old woman, Barb. After her husband's death, she embarks on a journey to bury his ashes in the lake he had told her about. Along the way, they encounter a severe snowstorm. Barb loses her way, and when she gets off to check the route, she hears a voice. Barb follows the sound and comes across a house. A car is parked there. Inside the car is a gun, and there's blood all around it. Something very wrong is going on here. She asks Barb, "What do you want? Why are you here?" Barb innocently replies, "I used to come here often with my husband. I just lost my way to the lake and came to ask for directions." The man shows her the way, and when Barb asks about the blood, he says it's the blood of an animal he hunted for food. Barb, ignoring all this, sets off on her journey, arriving at Lake Hilda, where she and her husband used to visit often. Standing at the lake, she remembers all the moments she and her husband spent together. She sits there for a while, then retrieves her husband's ashes, which she plans to dig and immerse in the lake. But before she can do anything, she hears a gunshot. She runs and sees that the bullet was fired by a man at a little girl trying to escape. Terrified, Barb gets into her Jeep. Her phone is out of signal at the time. Barb knows there's only one house in the area, and the man must have kidnapped the girl there. She quickly approaches the cabin and checks on the girl. She finds all the doors locked, but she sees the girl through the basement window. Before she can ask the girl anything, two cars pull up. One of them carries a couple inside the house. Barb hears their voices and realizes that the wife had tasked her husband with kidnapping the girl. Her suspicions are confirmed. The girl was kidnapped. So Barb writes a message on the window for the girl, "I won't leave you." After that, she leaves. Meanwhile, Clara comes out of the house to check on the girl. Near the basement, she sees Barb's gloves and her message written on the window. Seeing this, she becomes angry at her husband. "What's this drama? Whose is this?" David explains that an old woman came here, asking for directions to the lake, nothing more. Hearing this, Clara understands that the woman has now become a threat to them. She picks up her gun and tells her husband, "Let's eliminate this threat." They knew she was hiding outside near the fishing deck. Clara points her gun at the fishing deck, and David goes to check the door when he suddenly falls through the ice. Barb had actually hollowed out the ice, and she was watching from a distance. David was drowning in the freezing water. He was about to die. Clara is busy saving him, while Barb seizes the opportunity to return home and try to break down the basement door. In the process, she herself falls down the basement stairs into the basement. Barb quickly goes to the girl and removes the tape from her mouth. She had freed her, but escaping with her wasn't easy. Before taking the girl, she wanted to make sure the couple was safe, so she went upstairs. Immediately, she extinguished the fire that had been keeping the house warm. She opened all the windows and doors to let the cold in, and wet all the blankets so that David and Clara would freeze to death. Having done all this, she was about to go down to the basement when a bullet suddenly grazed her hand. Clara had seen it, and it was Clara who had fired it. To save herself, Barb ran away and reached her car, whose engine was now completely frozen and wouldn't run. The pain of the gunshot was excruciating. She picked up some ice from downstairs and applied it to her wound to freeze it, numbing her body and easing the pain. She then went to the fishing deck and found David's gun, which had a single bullet in it. On the other hand, we are shown David and Clara, who, after seeing the state of the house, realized that it was all their father's doing. The house had become too cold. It was too cold for a normal person. It was difficult for them to survive. David was completely drenched. To keep David alive, Clara puts him in the car. David was in such a state that he couldn't even stand. But Clara tells him, "Whatever happens, we must complete our mission today. Set up near the lake. I can't miss the surgeon's appointment in the morning." And here we learn Clara's intentions. She kidnapped the girl because she wanted to take her liver while operating on her, so that she could use her own liver for a transplant. Clara deliberately chose this place for this purpose because no one had visited this place for years. The environment here was free of any germs, and she didn't need to create a large setup. After removing the girl's liver, they planned to throw her into the river, thus preventing the police from finding any evidence against them for the rest of their lives, or even saying that no one would ever know they had committed a murder. They load the child and everything into the car, and then David notices that he doesn't have his gun. Clara becomes enraged, slapping him in the face. David goes to the lake to set things up, while Clara keeps an eye on him with her binoculars. Just then, she hears Clara's car leave the scene. As the house clears, she enters the basement and finds the poor, innocent child gone. Inside the basement, Barb uses various tools to heal her own wounds and then emerges, planning to rescue the child. David's car is parked outside, but it's locked. She picks up a hammer, breaks the car's windows, and gets inside. Using the car radio, she attempts to inform the police about the situation. Before she can fully disclose her details, Barb comes up from behind, grabs her from the car, and hits her leg hard with a hammer. Barb, daringly, flees, takes David's gun from her pocket, and points it at him. Seeing this, David tells Barb, "No, please don't kill me. The truth is, I'm not doing anything wrong. My wife is forcing me to do this, and she's not wrong either. We chose this girl because she's attempted suicide multiple times in her life, but the doctors saved her. She doesn't want to live. My wife is sick and needs a liver transplant. That's why we're doing all this." He now tells Barb, "I can't stand my wife anymore. I'm very ill right now, and I'm going to the hospital to save my life." Barb looks at him and says, "If you're really a good man, you'll go to the police and report your wife before going to the hospital." David agrees and gives Barb the ring she dropped near Lake Hida. He then gets in his car and leaves. Before leaving, he also gives Barb some extra bullets for the gun she used to fight his wife. Before David can reach the hospital, his wife, Clara, arrives and stops his car. Getting out of the car, gun in hand, she asks David, "Where were you going?" "Leave me." David begins crying and says, "I'm sick. I'm very ill. I needed help." Clara replies, "If you needed help, you should have come to me. Where were you going?" David tells her the truth, "Clara, I can't support you in this crime. This is all a crime. And do you think the surgeon will hide your crime? Won't he question whose liver you brought?" As they were talking, Claire also began crying. Blood was dripping from her nose. Meanwhile, we were shown Bahar, who was now loading extra bullets into her gun. After preparing her gun, Bahar takes out a picture of herself and her husband from inside her pickup truck. This picture was taken when Bahar was pregnant. But despite being pregnant, she was unable to conceive. Her son had died. Breaking out of her memories, she looks at the pickup truck in which she and her husband had spent their entire lives. But now, this pickup truck was no longer more important than their survival. Inside the pickup truck's fuel tank, she finds some clothes. She sets the pickup truck on fire so that the smoke could attract someone to help. Barb's plan worked. Seeing the smoke, two men came to Barb's aid. It turns out they were the same men Barb had spoken to on the radio. Barb tells the two men, "Thank goodness you're here. There's a couple who have kidnapped a little girl. The man was seriously injured, so I sent him to the hospital. But the real threat isn't the man, it's his wife, who wants to kill the girl." Barb's story seems strange to the two men, as he had a gun at the time. They say, "Give us your gun." Outside, Barb agrees and hands it to them. People now approach the cabin, where they see Clara sitting in her car. Drawing their weapons, the two men slowly approached Clara's car, urging her to get out. As they approached Clara's car door, someone shot them from behind. They had only one of their caps in place. A trap had been set up, trapping them both. The man came from the other side and shot them. Clara then tried to shoot Barb as well. Barb, to protect herself, hid behind the dashboard, opened the glove box, and retrieved her gun. She slowly climbed out of the car and shot Clara in the leg, preventing her from escaping. She then quickly ran outside, toward the cabin, and on the way, she spotted David's car, which was now dead. The sight of it shattered her. Just then, she sees that Clara has regained her composure and is pointing her gun at Barb. Barb has run to the shed. Clara then shoots at the shed, causing it to collapse on top of her. Barb falls unconscious. Hours later, when Barb regains consciousness, she finds herself in the same basement where the kidnapped girl was held. The first thing Barb sees upon regaining consciousness is the girl, who is terrified. She tells Barb, "I don't want to die." Barb asks her name. The girl tells her name is Leah, and Barb says, "What a lovely name. If we had a daughter, I would have named her that too." Barb begins to tell the girl the story of her great-grandfather, who was trapped in a blizzard with several soldiers. She explains that the storm wasn't one anyone could escape. Many soldiers died in that storm. But my grandfather didn't give up. He knew that if he stopped or sat down for even a second, his body heat would be lost, and thus he would die quickly in the storm. Undeterred, he kept walking, and finally, he got through the storm. The part says that if he had stayed there that day, he would have frozen to death in the snow. But his courage saved him that day. And if he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be sitting here today. The part says, "I admit we don't know what will happen to us. But we must at least fight for ourselves. We must keep trying to save ourselves. And you've been sitting here for so long." Then, she frees herself outside. Then, she picks up a pair of large shoes, gives them to the child, and puts them on herself. After which, she tries to open the basement door to escape. But the basement door was locked from the outside. After hours of effort, the outsider managed to open the door, but just as she was about to leave, Clara appeared and locked them back inside the basement. A short while later, Clara herself arrived, tying them both up and dragging them towards the lake. She also gave Barb a large amount of luggage to drag. Once there, she created a complete operating setup and tasked Barb with tying the child to a table. She then told Barb, "You'll be the one holding the luggage for me during all this." Barb noticed that Clara's leg was bleeding profusely, as Barb had shot her in the leg. She told her to dress her leg first, or she would lose a lot of blood. Clara said, "I don't care about that. Just do what I tell you. Give me one of the kits from that box." As she opens the box and begins to remove the kit, she discovers it's a liver transplant kit. Clara is about to remove the innocent girl's liver. She even tries to stop Clara from doing this, but Clara doesn't listen. She orders Barb to tape the girl's mouth, legs, and hands together, and Barb does it. After doing so, Clara shoots Barb and begins marking Leah's body to determine where her liver will be. Before she makes any cuts, we see from behind that Barb has gotten up again. He attacks Clara from behind, pushing her away from Leah. Clara overpowers Barb, being younger. In the ensuing struggle, Clara's gun hits a lamp, setting the entire tent on fire. The two of them fight their way out of the tent. The gun falls from Clara's hand. Both Clara and Barb try to run for it, but the gun falls into Clara's hands. Barb was trying to stop her, but a bullet accidentally flew into the lake. Clara then used her strength to free herself, and when she was about to shoot Barb one last time, she realized that she was out of bullets. In a fit of rage, Clara smashed the back of her gun into Barb's head, causing her to bleed profusely. Meanwhile, the tent where the baby Rhea was to be operated on was completely burned. Rhea would have been burned as well, but she saved herself. She climbed out of the tent and, falling onto the snow, blinded herself. After that, she approached Clara. She picked up Clara's gun and shot Clara, causing Clara to writhe in pain. She then ties Barb's body to Clara's leg and throws them both into the lake, believing she was dead. But Barb wasn't. As she lay dying, Barb went into the lake and opened the box containing her husband's ashes, which she had been holding in her hand since the last time. Thus, along with her husband's final wish, she herself is also killed, and along with her, the evil Clara is also killed. She had survived, and now, having survived, she must escape this dangerous area. The movie ends with just that.